Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the world you are. Hope you're doing great. Welcome to another session with Microsoft Zero to Hero, Microsoft Learning Room. We're so glad again having another session. It's actually an exciting session. I'm going to quickly share my screen, talking a little bit about the session. Today we have Nicklas also with us about getting started with Microsoft Intune. So the whole topic is about Microsoft Intune. Thanks for taking time in the weekend. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. And I'm sure that why we are all here is because we really love to learn in a daily basis and we really want to take our knowledge and experience to the next level. And I'm sure today we will learn more exciting stuff about Microsoft Intune. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Microsoft Learn. So we all know about Microsoft Learn. Sometimes we don't know about the things that we can benefit from Microsoft Learn. So this is actually our goal within community as part of Microsoft Learn, learning room communities and tech communities is that to delivering the most of Microsoft Learn so that you can benefit everything from Microsoft Learn and you can use all the resources. Exam practices would help you to do test exam practices before going to the actual exam and make sure to have the full confidence going to the exam and just go and pass it. So you can make training, customized training and learning paths for yourself. You can attach modules. You can even filling your experience in there, and it will tell you which path is mostly suitable for you to continue. For instance, as a developer, as an AI engineer, as a data engineer, or a cloud architect, and so on. So this is really important, as we mentioned in every other session. Just make it your homepage. As a next slide, we all witnessed a great Microsoft Build event. Despite its past, but it's available. You can go and watch all these events, official events from Microsoft are opportunities just to learn more and opportunities to trigger another learning path. So this is what we all love to do, learning on a daily basis, making learning habits for yourself. And to begin, this is exactly the place. Microsoft Build, Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft Learn communities, and all of them are exactly the ecosystem that you can put yourself in the center of those ecosystem and take your knowledge to the next level, especially with AI services from Microsoft, with Microsoft in the lead of the market with AI services. And as the last slide, we have a code of conduct of being aware of each other, friendly and patient, and welcoming, respectful during the session, and opening to all questions and viewpoints, understanding differences and kind and considerate to others. Thanks for joining again. I'm going to add Nicklas to stage. Hi, Nicklas.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. Good to have you here.
Yeah,
This is
really great
actually
to be
our
here.
first session with the student ambassador. And it's really good to mention that Nicklas is part of the community and we are all together within the community with the student ambassadors. Nicklas is also a student ambassador just to deliver the most of the things that we can deliver to the learners all around the world and do our best just to make sure that all of you in the community and also within Microsoft Learn can enjoy and learn most of the resources we are providing. I'm gonna remove my slide and add your slide here. Great.
Perfect. All right.
So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this event. It's a pleasure for me to have you here, and also really thankful for me to get the opportunity to speak. So, yeah, this session will be about getting started with Microsoft Intune. So, this event is mainly targeted beginners and students within the cloud world. So, it could be perfect for you if you're just looking to get started with Microsoft Intune, or that you maybe are looking at getting the MD102 certification, the Endpoint Administrator certification. But also if you've been doing something with Intune for a little while, that could also be a session for you. Or yeah, it's basically just a session to get the fundamental knowledge and getting some resources to get started. So yeah, a little bit about me. My name is Nicklas, and I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. It's a very long title, so I will just mention it as student ambassador for now. So I'm very passionate about Microsoft Intune, and this is where I would use a lot of my time if my girlfriend would allow me to. Um, I'm also running a blog called learnintune.net, where I blog about Microsoft Intune, and this could be all from feature within Intune, and it's also for beginners and students that would like to get started with Microsoft Intune, where I have a concept called scenarios for Intune, something I will come back to later when we are going through some useful resources for you guys. So yeah, this was a little bit about me. Um, and before we can get started with the session, I will just quickly introduce you guys to the Student Ambassador program. The Student Ambassadors program is a global group of students from all over the world that love to help students. And as an ambassador, you will make a difference in your local community. And that can be all from sharing knowledge and learning with other students. Um, and currently in the program, there is around 3 to 4 different milestones where you, as a beginner, start as new, and then you advance to alpha, and then beta and gold. And before you can push to any of these milestones, you have to complete different tasks. So this can be all from having an event like I am having here, and it could also be blogging. It could be, yeah, a lot of different stuff. And of course, when you advance these milestones, you're unlocking some nice benefits such as Visual Studio subscription, LinkedIn Learning, and also some nice Microsoft swag, of course. So take a look at the link on the slide if you would like to know more, or you can always reach out to me if you found it interesting and you maybe have some question about it. I will be happy to help you with that. So yeah, this was it. So a quick question for you guys. How many has worked with Microsoft Intune before? Uh, if you could comment in the chat, that would be nice. And this could be from little experience to more advanced experience. Yeah, and once people is answering on that question, I have another question. So, who is planning on studying for the MD102 certification, the Endpoint Administrator certification? I personally have it myself, so I know that it includes some legacy stuff such as SSM and MDT. Yeah, I can see. Okay, so there is some a little bit. Okay, there is some little bit. There's some people that has worked with Intune before, and there's some that just know its name. So I mean, that's great. So let's see if you can get started. So just to give you guys a quick perspective to what is Microsoft Intune, I would like you guys to imagine that you are an internal IT at a company with around 50 employees. And within that company, you have to manage all the devices one by one. And we are talking about 50 devices. And imagine that you have to go around and install all company applications and maintain security and push policies and much more on every device one by one. I mean, that would be really tough, right? I mean, I would sweat as much as this guy is doing right now every day if I had to do this. So of course, I know Active Directory and group policy objects existed before Intune, but this is just to give you guys a little perspective on how Intune works today. It's it's a tool that can help you with all of those things. So I mean, look at this poor guy. He has to run to all his colleagues in order to support them. And I bet after he's heard this presentation, he would start looking at Microsoft Intune to help him get started. All right. So what is Microsoft Intune? In short, Intune is an MDM. So this stands for Mobile Device Management. So it's basically a solution where you can manage all your endpoints, and this can be all from Windows and Macs iOS and Android devices. And this involves all different kind of tasks around those endpoints. So this could be all from deploying your applications to maintaining security to push policies to those devices. I mean, these are only some of the features that Intune has, and it's pretty amazing, right? And as you can see in this picture here, there is three main core elements we have to think about when we are talking about Microsoft Intune. The first one is apps, the application part, and the next one is identities, and the last one is the devices. So these are the three elements we have to think about when we are talking about Intune. And just a bonus info, if you haven't heard about the Intune Suite license before, it's in the top right corner. It's a new license that Microsoft has introduced, where you get a lot of nice features as well. So if you would like to know a little more about that, I would recommend you to look it up. But also, if in case you are taking the certification exam, there might be question about that as well. So that's pretty amazing, right? So of course, as with other Microsoft products, there is some license requirements that we have to think about. Um, you can of course buy a standalone Intune license, but you can also buy a license that includes all other features. You have to think about when you buy a standalone license only that it probably only includes Intune in this case. And if you buy a license such as the Microsoft 365 Business Premium, it includes other things such as Office 365, Entra, Defender for Endpoint. So if you are a small business, or maybe you just are doing some lab or training for the certification exam, I would recommend you to take a look at the Business Premium license, because it includes so many different features for a small amount of money as well. And you have to, in order to work with Intune, you have to know how the other products works as well. So this is a really good recommendation I can give you if you're looking into getting started with Microsoft Intune. And just to give you guys a little idea of what's included in the Microsoft Business Premium license, I know it's a little unclear here with the picture, but you can see there is Office 365 included. That's the red one. And then there is Enterprise Mobility plus Security included, where we have the Intune Plan 1 and also Entra ID Plan 1. And there is Windows Pro included as well. And lastly, we have Defender for Business, which is Defender for Endpoint, if you know that product. So yeah, if you are a small business, or if you are just looking to get started with learning Microsoft Intune, I would highly encourage you to take a look at the Business Premium license. And yeah, if you're ever sitting in a situation where you might where you're not completely sure which features are included in which licenses, I would highly recommend you to go check out the m365maps.com. It's a really nice community tool that's been created in order to help understanding which features are included in which licenses. So yeah, that's a great tip if you are ever in that situation. So yeah, Microsoft Intune is a web-based portal that has some integrations with other Microsoft products, as I mentioned before, such as Entra ID, formerly known as Azure AD, but also Defender for Endpoint. So just be aware that Microsoft Intune has integration with other products as well. So with Microsoft Intune, the device categories are mainly split into two. So this means that when we are talking about devices in Intune, we are talking about organization-owned devices or personally owned devices. And you might think, if you have worked with on-prem Active Directory and group policy before, you might think it's impossible to manage personally owned devices. But with Intune, that isn't the case. You can actually both manage your company and personally owned devices as well. So that's also a really great opportunity to manage those personally owned devices as well. And just a quick example of how the different products works together. So in Intune you have compliance policies, and compliance policies is a set of policies you can create to check whether your devices are meeting your company's requirements. So this can be all from that you would like to require all devices to have BitLocker. It could also be require antivirus. There's a lot of stuff you can check whether your devices are having these things activated. Um, so when you have created these compliance policies in Intune, your devices will either be non-compliant or compliant. So in order for your device to be compliant in Intune, it has to have all of those things in place that you specified in your compliance policies. So if you specified that your devices must have BitLocker and your device has BitLocker activated, then your device is compliant. But if it doesn't have BitLocker activated, it will be considered as a non-compliant device. So, and you might wonder how can I do something more about those checks? So if we would like to do some more with compliance policies, we could take a look at conditional access as well, a feature within the Intra portal. Um, and conditional access can be used to block for those devices that isn't compliant. So let's say that I don't have BitLocker on my device and my company don't want me to access any company data or company resources, then I can block for that access within conditional access. So conditional access can actually check if my device is compliant or non-compliant. So yeah, that's an opportunity as well. Um, and now when we have talked a little bit about the devices in Intune, I would like to briefly talk about the applications we can have in Intune. And of course, as I mentioned before, Intune also have the possibility to deploy applications to your devices. So, and it's actually also possible to deploy applications to personally owned devices. And there is many different app types in Intune, but as an example on the screen here, we can see that we have something called Win32 apps. And Win32 apps is basically a exe or MSE file that you can wrap with a tool, and then you upload it to Intune. And from there on, you can deploy it to your devices. But again, we also have other app types. So as an example, we have store apps where it's just basically the Microsoft Store, where you as an IT admin can browse through the catalog of apps in the store, and then you can deploy it to your devices. So this way with the Microsoft Store is a little bit easier because you don't have to specify the install commands and uninstall commands for your applications. So there is different opportunities for you to deploy applications. And yeah, believe it or not, you can actually deploy applications to personally owned devices. And on top of that, we can actually also protect the company data on those devices. So let's say that we have Outlook deployed to our devices, and we would like to make sure that the data from Outlook don't go anywhere outside of that application. Um, so actually, as you can see on the screen here, we have something called app protection policies. And with those policies, we can, as an example, block copy and paste from Outlook. So it isn't possible to copy and paste anything outside of Outlook. Um, and it's also possible to block for screenshots as well. There's a lot of different opportunities in order to protect the company data. And on top of that, we also have app protection, app configuration policies as well. as you can see here in the top, where we can customize the application on our personal devices. So let's say we would like to specify the app language in the application. That's an opportunity, but also if you would like to block the use of personal accounts as well, that's an opportunity. So yeah, there is really a lot of opportunities within Intune. So um, you can both manage personally and company-owned devices as well. So there's a lot of opportunities within that field. So yeah, that was a little bit about devices and then applications now. And now I would like to give a little tour in the Intune portal, and just for you guys to get familiar of how it looks, but also where is the different stuff located in the Intune portal. I know from the certification exam, it's really important for you guys to know where it's located, because there's actually questions in regards to that. So I will just see if I can figure out how to share my screen here. So let me see. Can you guys see my screen now?
We can see it, Nicklas. It's possible.
All right. So as you can see here, we are currently in the Intune portal, and the portal has had a few different names over the time. Before Intune, it was called the Endpoint portal, but now it's called Intune portal. Um, so at the front page here, we can see the current status of our environment. So at the moment, we can see that 9 of my devices isn't compliant, which is not good, right? So I have some work to do after this session. But we can also see um, our configuration policies. If there's any errors or conflicts, I can see there's currently one conflict with my configuration policies or an error. But yeah, there's a lot of different stuff you can see as well. There is some news about Intune and yeah, documentation and training. There is a lot of different stuff in here. Um, I will just quickly jump to the devices tab. And as the name says, it's a tab where we can manage our devices. Um, we can see all our devices that are currently enrolled into Intune. But we can also, if you would like to only see uh, my Windows devices, that's possible. But if you also want to see my Mac devices only, that's an opportunity as well. So we have the possibility to sort on the platform. So and we also have the opportunity to customize Windows 365 from the portal as well, if you know that product. Um, and then we have enrollment, which typically covers Windows Autopilot, but also onboarding of Apple and Android and corporate device identifiers as well, and then them accounts. So if you are taking the certification exam, I would highly recommend you to read up on them accounts, but also work a little bit about with it. Um, and from the Windows tab, we can see we have some different settings with Windows Autopilot, but also the new device preparation policies that just has been released. So if you are interested in that, that's also an opportunity. And then we also have different settings we can configure, such as how many devices our users can enroll, but also which platforms they can enroll into Intune. So yeah, that was a little bit about enrollment. So, and then we have the configuration profiles, where we can push our policies. So let's say if I would like to make sure that all the search engines in my edge in the environment is Google, then we can configure that from here. So yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities, uh, a lot of policies that can be configured from here. Currently, I have 2 policies configured in my environment, and I can see which platform it is, but also which policy type it is. So yeah, and then we have our compliance policies where we can see the policies that are currently created. So the compliance policies was the policies where we could check whether our devices were meeting our company's requirements. Um, and then we have the opportunities to send out a notification if our device doesn't meet the requirements. We can also retire. Then we can customize compliance settings as well. And then we have conditional access, which is an integration from the intro portal. If you've heard about conditional access before, you might have seen it in that portal. And then we have scripts and remediations. So there's 2 different features we have to think about when we are talking about scripts and remediations. The first one is remediations. This is just a PowerShell script where we can configure the PowerShell script to run only once or multiple times. And then we have platform scripts, which is also PowerShell scripts that we can configure to run only one time. So that's the difference between those. And then we have Windows 10 and later updates where we can configure our update rings. So we can configure how we would like our Windows Update service to behave on our devices. So if you would like to defer an update, that's an opportunity as well. There's a lot of different settings we can configure from here. We have our feature updates as well, where we can update, as an example, from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So this can be controlled from here. And then we have quality updates as well and driver updates. So there's a lot of possibility to control the different updates and all, as well as drivers for our devices. And yeah, a lot of other stuff in the portal. I won't go through all of it. Otherwise it will take the whole day. So I will just quickly jump to the apps page where we can get an overview as well, where we can see our installation status, but also some useful information about our tenant. And from here we can see all our apps, exactly just as we could see it with our devices, where we could see all devices at once. And then we have the possibility to sort by platform, just as we had with our devices tab. And as you can see, I have 2 different apps deployed in my environment at the moment, and the app type is Windows Catalog app. And just to give you a quick idea of how many different app types there's a lot. So also a good way to prepare for the certification exam is to get familiar with the most of the app types. Um, that will be really useful as well. So we have our app protection policies as well from here, where we can um, configure how we would like to how we would like to protect our personally owned devices. So as I said before, we can make sure to protect Outlook if we would like that on our personal owned devices, and then as well as app configuration policies. Um, and now I will just quickly go into endpoint security. And this is where we can handle a lot of the endpoint security around our devices. So we have the possibility to see all devices, just as with the devices tab. And then we have the possibility to deploy security baselines. So security baselines is just a set of policies that Microsoft has created for, let's say, our Windows devices. And those policies are created from a best practice perspective. So this is something Microsoft has created for you guys to quickly get started with deploying a baseline to your devices or applications. So as you can see here, we have a baseline for our Windows devices, and then we have a baseline for Defender for Endpoint, and also actually a baseline for Microsoft Edge. So yeah, there's a lot of different baselines from here that you can quickly get started with deploying a baseline to your devices. So yeah, we have the security baselines, and then we have the security task as well. And after that, we have antivirus, where we can configure the behavior of our antivirus on our devices. So this is where we can configure that. So that's an opportunity as well. And then we can see if we have any unhealthy endpoints or active malware. And then we have disk encryption, which is BitLocker, if you know that. This is where we can configure BitLocker on our devices as well. And we have firewall as well, where we can configure our firewall rules for our devices. So if you would like to open a certain port or anything similar for application, then we can do this from the firewall tab. And then we have endpoint privilege management, which is admin by request feature, I would say. So hopefully all of you that are maintaining devices have removed local administrator rights. And in those cases, you have endpoint privilege management, where you can deploy an agent to those devices if there's still a need for the administrator rights. And once that agent is deployed, you can, depending on your settings, the users can request admin rights, or they can just activate it from the agent. And this is a feature that's included in the Intune Suite license. So this is really cool as well. So if you have the opportunity, I would highly encourage you to work a little bit with that. Um, then we have endpoint detection and response, where we can onboard our devices to Defender for Endpoint primary. Um, and then we have app control for business, where we can deploy that. And then we have attack surface reduction, which is a set of policies as well that would help us reduce the attack surface on our devices. So that's another opportunity to protect your devices. And then we have account protection, where we can configure local admin password solution labs, if you've heard about that before, but also local user group membership, where we can control which people are part of the different groups on the device, and device compliance and control access as before. And then we have reports, and the reports are in place to help monitor the health and activity of your endpoints, as it says here on the front page. And I would say with the reports, it's really nice to have, because if you would like to know how it's going with your compliance in your environment, it's a nice way to quickly get an overview. Also, if you're having any issues with Windows updates, you can also get a report for that. And yeah, a lot of different other stuff as well. And then we have the users and groups directly from Intra as well. So that's an opportunity as well. If you don't want to go into the different portals, then we have the users and groups here as well. Then we have tenant administration, where we can configure different stuff on a tenant level, but also get a quick overview of the tenant status. And then we have troubleshooting plus support. If you need any quick troubleshooting assistance on an issue you're having, it's an opportunity here. So yeah, this was just a quick run through of the Intune portal. I know I haven't covered it all, but I will just um, walk it walk through with you guys on how it looks, but also just for you guys to get familiar, how does it actually look, and where should I look for this setting or this one. So yeah, hopefully this has been a little bit helpful. So I will just quickly share my screen on the slide again. So let's see. And I will just quickly find the slide. So yeah, let me know if you can see the slides again. I think you can. I can see it from here. So I assume you can see it, Hamid. Otherwise, please let me know. Um,
Yes, we can see it, Nicklas.
all right. So now we've got a little fundamental knowledge about Intune and how it works, and just a quick overview of how the Intune portal looks as well. So now it's your guys' turn if you would like to get started with Microsoft Intune. So I will give you a little some resources on how you can get started. Because I know for a fact back when I started with Intune, I know it was not easy to find all those resources. So I will just give you guys a quick start, hopefully. So the first resource that I would like you guys to know about is the Microsoft Developer Tenant. Um, it was a subscription you could create from Microsoft, but unfortunately Microsoft um, closed it because got abused. But yeah, that was a pre-configured tenant with licensing and users and groups, so you could quickly get started. So that isn't a possible way of doing it at the moment, but again, you could start a trial on Intune licenses if you would like to. But also, as I mentioned before, it might be a better idea to pay for a single business premium license um, to get started with the product, because the business premium license just includes so many features that you would have to think about when you are managing Intune environments. So that's something I would suggest for you for a lab environment. Otherwise, we have, if your company has it, a Visual Studio subscription. I know that the enterprise version of this subscription includes the possibility to activate the developer tenant, so that's a possibility as well. And for your tenant, you of course need some devices you can manage with Intune. So there, Microsoft has a lab kit for Hyper-V. It's really quick to set up and get started. The thing that takes the longest time is to download, but it all depends on your network connection as well. So this just includes a lot of different devices and also servers. And then we have scenarios for Intune, something I've created together with my friend Joel, where we give the reader an introduction to a fictive company, and from there on, we introduce them to a issue that they have to solve from the real world. So I believe that I learn best from solving issues with the tool I'm trying to learn, because otherwise it might just be a little it I don't learn the same way if I just played around deploying some random policies. So with this scenarios for Intune, we actually are giving you a, a scenario you have to solve, but also the resource for you to get started with this problem solving. Um, So that's an option as well. And lastly, we have the training on Microsoft Learn that I would always recommend you guys to get some fundamental knowledge for Intune, but also more advanced knowledge. And of course, there's modules for the MD102 certification if you're looking to get started with that. Um, so yeah, Microsoft Learn is always the best place to start if you are looking to get started with a product from the Microsoft suite. So yeah, that was basically it from me. There is some time now for some questions. But also if you have any questions regarding the resources or some of the information that I gave during the session as well. Um, Other than that, I don't have much to say. Then thank you very much for having me. I hope you guys enjoyed the session.
Amazing. Thanks, Nicklas, for this great session. That was really full of rich information about Microsoft Intune. I also learned some points because mainly we are doing the infrastructure part, so I'm totally missing that part of, especially with modern workplace services and the architecture system. So that was so helpful session. We're looking forward to have you again with another session, maybe doing workshops together for the community and also going a bit more advanced levels of telling about Microsoft Intune. I'm sure learners and community also really interested about it. So we can plan for it if you're also in
Yeah,
for having next sessions. And the resources also you mentioned in your slides. So is it possible because after we stop the streaming, so despite the video will be available immediately on socials and also on YouTube, so we still promote and we repost about it.
yeah,
And if you have any links or resources, we can also mention it within the post, so learners and people also
yeah. I
now,
can access it.
so they can also use it.
Yeah,
If there are any questions, you can just post it on the chat, and we will be highlighting it for Nicklas. We're waiting a bit for questions then.
yeah. It could be that people are out in the great weather today.
Yeah, but here in StreamYard, we cannot see the joiners and live people from LinkedIn, but I saw also people were live also on LinkedIn. And I'm also checking the other side if they have also questions they post on LinkedIn. Sometimes we cannot see on StreamYard. But beside that, yeah, it's a good weather also. So I got a question. You mentioned that in some part of the presentation that a name changed for Microsoft Intune. What was the name change for that?
Yeah, so basically, back in the days, it was also called Intune, but was it last year or something? It was named Endpoint instead. So instead of
Ah, right.
Intune.microsoft.com, it was named Endpoint.microsoft.com.
Oh, interesting. What is Endpoint Manager? I also realized about something about Endpoint Manager. This is also something related to Intune that you can manage the endpoints in there.
Um, I've a wild guess would be that it's the same thing.
All right.
Yeah,
Sometimes on Azure side, you see that it doesn't mention Intune, but instead says something about Endpoint Manager. That was a bit also confusing for me.
it's the name changes all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And Microsoft always changes stuff that you go to Azure and see, and I've actually experienced it several times. For instance, working with Azure Functions, and then the other day I logged in, just continuing the configuration, and I saw the just the design
Yeah,
changed, nameplate changed. That's not the thing that I was working with yesterday. So it's quite
yeah.
interesting.
Sometimes things change quite fast.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Seems like we don't have any question, and we got message from Vinay, Navid, Ayub. You're all very welcome.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was great.
Perfect. Thanks for joining, and looking for next sessions. Episode 2. So we have the promise from Nicklas to getting for the episode 2 of this continuation of this session. So thanks everyone for joining, and I wish you a great weekend. Thanks, Nicklas, for your time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.